Well, ladies and gentlemen, during a podcast with Michael Malice, Joe Rogan has come out and admitted that he thinks Kamala Harris will win. Now, I'm sure he said that off the cuff, whatever. He's basically saying that she can win. And, certainly anyone, if you're the candidate propped up by either party, Republican or Democrat, you can win. I think it's very important that we calm down with this entire situation. A lot of Republicans getting worried. You look at the polls in 2020, 2016, they were 100 times worse than what we're looking at today. Like you see that Kamala poll with her up by 11 in Michigan, that was pretty constant in 2020 with Biden in some swing states, and certainly in 2016 with Hillary being up in basically every single poll, or at least most, in all of the swing states. This is just kind of a reset that they wanted. Unfortunately, they're able to get away with it because they control basically 90% of the media. But I'm going to react to this. This is Rogan. I mean, you'll hear him. He basically says he thinks, she's going to win. So let's see what he says here.
To me, the fragility of the human mind, so everybody forever was like, Kamala Harris is the worst vice president. She's the least popular vice president of all time. And then in a moment,
it's a miracle. She saved the world and went up 10% in terms of her approval rating. It's just how robotic people are. But listen, to be fair, being the VP versus being the president, it's two completely different things. She's going to get good press, so obviously all of her numbers are going to go up. But it's this disgusting idea where the Democrats were leading the last 3.5 years. They had such a horrible administration with terrible inflation. It only got worse when they gaslighted everyone and said the stock market's really high, so the economy's good. That's not how it works, and that's why Biden had one of the worst approval ratings ever. And so they just think all of a sudden, oopsie, because we had a horrible candidate who has a horrible approval rating, worse than Trump had back in 2020 during the pandemic when he had to shut the economy down, then we can just change out our candidate and reset everything. We're sorry, guys. We know we've been in office the last 3.5 years. Don't pay attention to that. We've got a new candidate now, who was the VP, by the way, and who's extremely soft on, you want to talk about soft on borders. I'm going to let this clip play. I'm sorry, but he's right on this. It's like, whoa, within a second, people are transcended, and now it's like kumbaya. Suddenly, she's this goddess. 10 days ago, she was one of the worst vice presidents we've ever seen in terms of polling. That's correct when it comes to that.
A moment in time, all of a sudden, she's our solution. She's our hero. Everybody's with her. All these social media posts about her. Try Googling a negative story on her. You won't find one.
He's right. They erased all of it, and they censored the Trump assassination because it made him look good. We all thought, well, we didn't think, but we were kind of being exaggerating when we were like, oh, the election's over, because Trump was already up by so much. And then the attempt happens with a far leftist. They're trying to claim it's not a far leftist. It is. Certainly, Thomas Crooks was a lefty. I'm sure he had a Reddit. It's come out. He wore a mask 2 years after the pandemic was over. But no, you're right. Republicans wore masks 2 years after the pandemic was over. Republicans go on Gab and spew our politics talking points. You're right. So we all thought the election, or it was like basically over. Biden was decrepit. He was old. He was the incumbent. You think they're probably not going to replace the incumbent? I thought they were going to, but just in general, Biden said he wasn't going to be replaced. And Trump went up by even more, and then they had to scrub everything, and they've scrubbed everything on Harris. Remember, it was already reported multiple times. Multiple stories were removed. One of just the Gov tracker where they track who's most left and who's most right based on the way they vote. Kamala Harris, and I guess she can try and argue that it's because she, was the governor of California. They're very far left. That's why she was the most left in terms of voting record in 2019, but they still scrubbed that. They scrubbed the data that had her as the most leftist, and that in turn said to the AI, when you would ask the AI, Kamala Harris, what is she in terms of her political standing? They were like, yeah, she's definitely a socialist. She's a borderline communist. So that's what the AI said, the robot said, based off of everything. So he's right. They did scrub everything.
So,
ta-da!
Okay, you've got...
Do you think they have her medicated? Because there was a guy that was speculating.
Well, probably, but it's not important to get into that. She's so bad, we don't even have to go to that. The medicating stuff was Biden mainly because of the cognitive decline. Harris has some issues, but we don't even have to go to that. She's so bad.
That some of the things that she says, the way she's sort of disconnected sometimes. And
I don't
she
know
goes
what
on these rambles that it's
I don't
indicative of certain anti-anxiety medication. I do not know if this is true. See if you can find that, because really
That
shouldn't
would
say
make
that about
that would
our
make
future president.
Yeah, yeah.
She's going to win.
No, she's not.
She can win.
She absolutely can win. I do not think she's going to win because the more she talks, like in 2020, how bad do you have to be that you can't even make Iowa? She couldn't even compete with.
He's referencing the primary, and she dropped out actually like over a month before it in December of 2019 with a lot more money than all these other candidates. She did this big thing where she announced she was running at this rally in like San Francisco. She had so much more money. They were rallying around her, and she still sucked so bad against Tulsi Gabbard. She had to drop out like 2 months before the primary. The first primary even happened in Iowa, which happens in like early February.
The mayor of South Bend.
I feel like we are in this very bizarre time where people are giving in to the bullshit in a way that I'd never suspected people would before. And this is one, they just want no Trump, no matter what, and they're willing to gaslight themselves.
Well, that's the left that wants no Trump. Independents are open to Trump. We saw with the polls against Biden, it reflected that. And even a recent poll I saw, independents were going for Trump plus 24. Now, I don't know if that's correct at this point, but that was a few days ago. Kamala versus Trump, independents. Trump was up by 24 points over Harris. So certainly the question is how many I just can't understand this many independent people, and maybe it is people on the left as well. The data behind all of these people suddenly supporting Harris, I knew she was going to go up. It's inevitable. They were a split party. Most of them wanted Biden out. It was a very ugly situation. So they all rallied behind Harris. We get that. But this idea that now she's leading all of a sudden, and just how many independent people, it's very strange to see this all play out.
And by the way, I think Hillary could win. If Hillary jumped back in...
I've been saying that for months.
If Hillary jumped back in, I think the problem was also the money, because...
Well, I know what he's referencing. Number one, there were reports that maybe Hillary in an open primary or in an open convention would have been the choice, or maybe Mark Kelly. I don't think Hillary would beat Trump. I think it'd be hilarious to see a rematch, though. I mean, it would just be funny to see Trump beat her again. I mean, listen, she would have a chance, absolutely. I mean, Hillary... she definitely had a chance in 2016. She had like a 98% chance, they were saying. I mean, she was up in every single poll. It wasn't like it was a blowout for Trump. And then I think he's talking about the money, because I watched this clip before. He's talking about the money. I believe that's false. Basically, what would happen is they were like, oh, they're pigeonholed. They can only pick Kamala. Well, it's going to be easier with the money, but if it wasn't going to be Kamala, they could just, all the donors apparently could be refunded. And the donors already had stopped funding Biden anyways, no matter what. But they could potentially be refunded from the Biden donations and then just give the money to whoever the open convention winner would be. But it would be harder. I agree. It would be harder. So maybe they just went with the easy choice, going with Harris rather than having the open convention, and it's not someone on the ticket. Because Harris and Biden are on the same ticket, the money doesn't have to be refunded. It just gets transferred to Harris, is what he's saying.
There was like $250 million in the campaign fund that has to, if it only works if she's on the ticket.
Right.
Yeah, but they could get refunded possibly and then just give the money to it's all right.
That's part of the problem, but I feel like Hillary could win. She won the popular vote in 2020.
Yeah, that's crap. She won California by like 5 million. Take that out, she loses the popular vote by 2 million. The popular vote is not important. It's not indicative of how America actually feels. It's mainly just these massive cities that are liberal cesspools, and that's why everyone's leaving them, and we're going to let them decide. The popular vote is I mean, I do want Trump to win the popular vote, but that's the other thing. They say, oh, Hillary crushed Trump in the popular vote. That's not true at all. It was 48% to 46%. You take away California, it's a 2-point victory for Trump. So the popular vote thing is listen, she did win the popular vote. It's hard for Republicans to win the popular vote. I mean, they bring in 10 million illegals. That's a lot more votes. It's going to be hard to counteract that. I agree.
I've been saying this for a year in different shows, and she would win it. One in pretty.
Michelle Obama could win too.
No, I don't.
If
think
she wanted to do it, you don't think so?
I don't. I think that's kind of this. You sound like your parents. I think it's this boomer idea. She doesn't want it.
I'm not saying that she.
Oh, she could absolutely win Michelle Obama. That was who I was scared of over Harris.
Would be awesome at it. But I
I
think
think anyone can win of either party.
The Obama coalition is stronger than anything Kamala Harris has. It would be 10 times worse with Michelle Obama.
yes.
Whoever the nominee
Trump.
is, like even Chris Christie could have won if he's the Republican nominee. It's
I would
possible.
have thought that Trump getting shot
Chris
would
Christie.
that's it, election's over. But it's like
No,
they
no.
memory hold that so quick.
You would have.
Well, not only memory hold it, they started censoring it, and Facebook got caught. Well, first it was Google getting caught with the searches on the assassination, and then it was Facebook who actually had to come out and admit, we're sorry because somebody tried uploading a picture of Trump with his fist up, the iconic photo, and they said it was manipulated and it was a false image, and there was some type of crap in the image, they couldn't upload it. So they said it was like AI or something. So they not only did they memory hole it and say let's just focus on Kamala, they actively suppressed the assassination attempt by the far leftist. Remember, these people's entire argument, it's based on January 6th. It's based on, against Trump, that is. It's based on political violence by the right, which it's now come out. Nancy Pelosi let that happen. She didn't have enough police. She's admitted it now. In a video, it came out, Republicans had to scrounge through the trash to find it because I'm sure the January 6th committee buried it, just like they buried everything else that was peaceful on January 6th, and then Tucker Carlson had to go in the trash and get all of it, and then they gaslighted him, and he's just like, this is all peaceful stuff. Why didn't you show this during the hearings? Because they're all liberal, and it was a biased monkey kangaroo court like you would see in the Soviet Union, where they're all liberal, and Liz Cheney is the Republican, sure. But that's their entire argument. So they had to censor the assassination because you've got a leftist who's seeing Rachel Maddow say that Trump is going to put liberals in camps. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not making it up. That's what she said. She said that Trump was going to put her in a camp because she's a liberal journalist. And so Thomas Crook sees that, and it's like, I've got to save everyone, right? Like, that's the whole thing. And then they gaslit and said it was Trump who was causing all this rhetoric when liberals compare Trump to Hitler constantly. And so that's really what happened there.
I thought Trump getting shot would have had 8 years of corporate journalists talking about hate speech causing violence to be like, let's take a step back. And that went for what, a week?
They did take us.
Not even a week. I hope they talk about this. It was the Lincoln Project, and this is the crazy thing about it. So the shooting happens on Saturday night, or Saturday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The Lincoln Project, I believe like 36 hours later, Monday morning, puts out a video. Because right after the shooting, all the Republicans were like, well, you've compared him to Hitler 100 times. What did you think was going to happen? Some far leftist nut was going to try and do something about it. They were trying to say, no, he's conservative. It's Trump's rhetoric that caused it. They were trying to argue that Trump's own rhetoric got himself shot. And Republicans were like, no, you compare Trump to Hitler. This is what happens. You say he's this dictator. You talk about Project 2025 and everything like that. It's all fear-mongering. And now it's actually come out that they've lied many times. Even CNN admitted in articles that the Harris campaign, the Biden campaign, by the way, how about Biden? Has anyone seen him? I mean, what a joke this entire thing is. It's such a scam. Like Joe Biden is still the president. Come on. It's all just a charade. Where has, I mean, how do they still convince people that Joe Biden is the president right now? We've seen Joe Biden like 2 times in the past 3 weeks. I know it's because they got to get Kamala out and campaigning and everything like that. And again, I think that was done. And some people, it could be more than this, but I think the reason they didn't want Kamala to replace Biden immediately was because they wanted first minority female president, first female president. If she replaces Biden, technically they can't run on that because she's already the president. And she doesn't get some incumbent advantage because she'd only be the president for 4 months. So for them, they'd be giving up the whole bullshit race narrative and sex narrative, first female president, first minority female, that they can spin now. And that's why, I mean, now Trump's having to go out and argue, is she Indian, is she black, all this stuff that wouldn't be as much of an issue if she was already president, to where they couldn't run on the idea of her being the first female because she would already be the president if Biden had resigned. So they're keeping Biden alive, like in a chamber, and like controlling his breathing to try and make sure he stays alive. And I mean, it's just like so ridiculous. Yeah, he's the president. What is he doing at this point? And then there was no explanation given. When Biden stepped down and he released that video, I mean, people don't remember, that was one of the dumbest things we've seen in like the past month or two. The whole question is, okay, Biden puts out the statement. We don't even know it's from Biden. He's not seen for 6 days. And then, Biden does the pre-recorded video at the White House talking about supposedly why he's stepping down. And you would figure, well, it's because of his health. But he can't say that because he's still technically the president for the next, 7 or 8 months until January. So they have to, there was no answer. Why? And he said because democracy, it's important for democracy, or democracy's at stake. You're the incumbent. Normally the incumbent's got a huge advantage. So really, what's going on here? You talked about 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before this, you had the best chance to win, and then he steps down and says democracy is at stake. I guess maybe because he's seen polling numbers, but even at that point, the polling numbers were not that much better for Harris at all. I don't think. If you see all the polls back when Biden was still president, him and Harris were really struggling against Trump. So all of that happened. It's really bad.
Set back for a little bit.
For a week.
And then they went right back at him.
You want to talk about this memory holding?
Yeah.
With the insanity of the who's that? That was Elon who put up, like, if you Google President Donald, it says President Donald Reagan.
No, I tried it.
What happened?
Maybe they fixed it. It said President Donald Trump.
Okay. Well, he had a screenshot, so I'm sure he didn't
no.
Yeah, that's an anecdotal thing. It was some people, it wasn't showing up. It's more the assassination photo they were taking down.
No. I mean, it's based on a lot of things, right? Like what people are searching for. I would imagine that the assassination attempt on Trump would be the first one that you would see.
Yeah.
Assassination attempt on President
Right.
would be Trump, because that's the most recent.
Yeah.
No, it's anything with Trump and assassination. It would be over any other assassination. This was the biggest story in the world news. Trump assassination, President Trump assassination, who assassinated Trump, Donald Trump assassination, Donald Trump, all of it. So like this idea, there would be nothing that would be close to it. It's not Ronald Reagan. Nobody is searching for that, especially in the past week, more than the Trump assassination. There's no argument that they manipulated the search results.
Yes.
But it's not.
And most newsworthy.
But it does show it. You just have to type it all in, which is interesting, because that little difference between what you can find and what you get presented immediately has overwhelmed you with positive stories. It'll take a long time before you get to the negative stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's talking about the Harris hype with all the stories coming out about Harris. They've completely censored everything bad about Harris, anything bad. She actually, and this was something that someone on Twitter mentioned, so I'll give credit to Twitter, but it was something that I was thinking about. When has she been challenged recently? Like in the past 2 weeks, since all of this boost, she didn't even show up to that friendly event in Chicago with all those black journalists and whatever, but Trump did. Or wherever that was. I don't know if Chicago or whatever, but I think it was Chicago. So she hasn't been challenged at all, and she's still getting this massive boost. So it's the best of both worlds for Harris right now. You've got Rogan coming out saying, she can win. He did say she will win, but I don't think, it's a long election. It's a lot of variables. You can't just say people are going to win, obviously. I mean, I have said Trump's going to win. Well, that's because a number of things and just this entire thing and all of the threats, all of the assassination attempts, all of the fake articles, it's all culminated around all of the potential World War III stuff where liberals say we're okay with going into World War III because we hate Russia. It's all come into this, and so this is really what's happening, and now you've got Rogan worried a little bit. I think Rogan is conservative. Listen, this is something that's very important. And I'm not going to be a Patrick Bet David, like giving 7 or 8 gifts, like, here, take the gifts. You guys remember that during the podcast, trying to get Trump on. But no, this is serious. You only live once. Rogan's got to put out the debate offer right now. We know that Harris will not accept it. If she does, that would be even better. But Rogan moderates a debate between Trump and Harris. We know Harris is going to decline it. That's going to make Trump look better. And boom, Trump accepts it. And he does a podcast with Rogan for 3 hours. And Rogan really, it's pure propaganda for Trump. It's pure helping Trump. I don't think it would help him that much because the people that watch Rogan, it's already people that are going to vote for Trump. Let's just be honest. But we just want to hear what Trump has to say in a setting like that. But he has to talk for 3 hours. See, Trump does these dinky little podcasts with like the little stars and like they don't know about politics and stuff. They're like 17 and he does it for like an hour. Let's get Trump on Rogan, talk about the assassination attempt, talk about, all in depth about your policy, What do you think of, Project 2025? Are you a part of that? These are big questions that Trump can answer and use these clips as pure propaganda. And Rogan has a massive podcast. Now, Rogan, I don't know if he wants to do that because he says he wants to stay out of politics, but I think it's pretty clear he leans right wing pretty significantly at this point. I think he's a free thinker. Certainly, he's going to have some leftist positions. That's fine. We're not all, obviously, nobody should be, I don't think, 1,000% one side. But I think in general, at this point, he probably leans right wing. I mean, he did come out and say the election was probably stolen in 2020. And that's not even when it comes down to the votes. I mean, now we see the stuff that's come out in Venezuela. You've got liberals saying, I mean, yeah, we stole it. Let's be honest. You see what happens in Venezuela. This is what these leftists do. They just blatantly steal stuff. I mean, look at what happened. That's why 2024 is so important. I mean, they have a high propensity to steal elections. Communists, socialists, they're all on the left. They all do it. So that's a big problem. And we will have to see if Rogan actually gets Trump on. But yeah, I mean, Rogan is saying there's a massive shift and that everyone has forgotten Kamala Harris, the horrible vice president. I think this is a temporary thing for most people. And honestly, it doesn't even matter. This is something to where if we went into election night, well, now that Harris has all this momentum, maybe not. But, you give it a few weeks. I still think Trump's amazing in terms of his polling average right now. And he's going to be able to take back the momentum, possibly through a number of routes. I mean, obviously, you're going to have to deal with the DNC as well, but I don't think that's for another 20 days. So hopefully Trump can get the momentum back. They are doing the debate. Trump agreed to it. Harris called him out. Of course, it's so funny how these Democrats try and twist this. It's just so pathetic. So I'll explain the whole debate thing. Number one, it was Trump supposedly debating Biden in September. Trump agreed to it. It was ABC. It was September 10th. Trump agreed to the debate with Biden. Because Trump was destroying Biden so badly, they had to blackmail Biden and force him out of the race, which installed Kamala. And then Kamala said, well, obviously Kamala needs to debate Trump because she's kind of an unknown. She's just getting thrown into this election. Trump doesn't have to debate Kamala. Kamala has to debate Trump. That's the dynamic at play. So then Kamala comes out and she's like challenging Trump, like calling him out, like you won't debate me. Number one, Trump agreed to the debate originally, not with Harris, but with Biden. And number two, it's so funny how they try and gaslight, like, oh, you won't debate me. Well, number one, you just got thrown in. Number two, you're desperately in need of this debate because your dumbass party elected Biden back in 2020, who we knew had zero chance of lasting 4 years. And you can see by his approval rating and everything that's happened recently, he was going to get crushed by Trump. But no. Let's reward you and have your little hissy fit and say that Trump's not going to debate me. See how they gaslight and they change it. It's your party's problem for having to replace your own incumbent candidate via blackmail 4 months before the election. But then it's Trump's fault for not debating. They're trying to twist it, and that's the dynamic at play in terms of that. But this was just something I want to react to with Joe Rogan here. It is August. It's about 3 months before the election, so certainly a ton of time with all these polls. They're all going to calm down, I'm sure. And again, even if the polls say, like, we can give up a lot when it comes to the polling to where Trump can still win. He can lose the popular vote by 5-6 points and still win. There's no doubt about it. It's just the important states, and that's why I knew she would pick Shapiro, even with the whole Jewish thing coming out. That's just a very small fringe, and they know it, and they know Pennsylvania is a very important state. Now, even if she wins Pennsylvania, Trump's got a number of paths. The problem is now I think she's going to try and go for Pennsylvania. This is the Democrats' plan. Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona. I think that's their main three that they want to go for. They're all above 10 electoral votes. Arizona's 11, Georgia's like 16, Pennsylvania's 19. That could become an issue. It's Georgia. Georgia might be the most important state, honestly, just because we think it's going to be for Trump. We don't know 100%. Either way, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.